do you see the government taking any steps? Should the government be taking steps? Okay, Aman, can I have other speakers also now on the broadcast?
You're not aware of all this.
Leela Ponappa, the government is unable to even ensure that a Zaki Rehman Lakhvi action is taken against him. What to say of Hafiz Saeed, or move beyond the state actors who were involved in 2611? David Coleman Headley trial names a Colonel Hamza, a Colonel Sadatullah, a Major Samir Ali. Leela Ponappa?
And whatever action is required, it will be taken.
When? Leela Ponappa?
We will not announce it on public television and then take action.
Well, first of all, I think it's somewhat disappointing that the representatives of the BJP and the Congress are indulging in a political debate, whereas the issue is really a national one. And I would appeal really to both of them and to their colleagues that any discussion on this is really treated as a national issue.
Yes.
I think there are questions that could be asked of the previous government, could be asked of this government.
That is
the point is this, and I think, Gaurav, your question is, what do we do in this particular situation? Now, at a time when the Abbottabad action took place in 2011, there were discussions on your channels, on many other channels, about similar steps possibly being taken in order to deal with the terrorist problems wherever they occur. And I think the general feeling was that at that stage it had to do with capability, it had to do with certain ground situations. And I'm not going to go into suggesting a particular operational kind of step or whatever. The fact of the matter is that, first of all, we must understand what we are dealing with. You have a state establishment which has consistently, for decades, supported terrorist groups.
Yes.
Even the so-called no good Taliban, bad Taliban statement by Nawaz Sharif is riddled with holes, because Pakistan has not gone after the Haqqani network, it has not gone after the Quetta Shura. So even vis-a-vis Afghanistan, there are questions. And of course, as far as the India-oriented terrorist groups are concerned, it's a free-for-all. Equally, let us also recognize that both sets of terrorist groups work in close consultation and coordination with each other. So as far as we are concerned, terrorism is a global kind of undivided threat. Now, this has to be dealt with at different levels. It has to be dealt with diplomatically, politically, in terms of security. Obviously, operational security issues are not discussed in public, and I don't think they should be either over here. The point is, should India be... Diplomatically, I think the message has very clearly gone to Pakistan. I'm pretty sure that if I were a fly on the wall at today's meeting, the Pakistan High Commissioner, smirking as he was, would have said, well, we have a free judicial system as you do, and so on and so forth.
And that's such a bogey.
But as one of your panelists mentioned, even the bail order was not obtained or appealed against. So I think India has to draw its conclusions. For too long, there have been illusions in this country that because, say, Nawaz Sharif got elected in a democratic election, because Gilani, former Prime Minister Gilani presented himself as a man of peace, because President Zardari seemed to make commonsensical suggestions about trade, about no first use, and so on and so forth, therefore something had turned. Of course,
so ultimately, nothing appears to have changed on ground.
Let me finish. You know, we expected that there was a game changer after the Peshawar terrorist attacks. But this is a country that has not hesitated to attack its people, whether it's in Bangladesh or Baluchistan and so on.
So what's the next course? No, what should be the next course of action, Leela Ponappa?
India has to stand firm. It has to be realistic that it has to manage the diplomatic relationship, because we are dealing with a neighbor, but let us not fall over ourselves at every glimmer of hope, because I think we need to see a systematic change in Pakistan. Currently, there are no indications of that.
There are absolutely no indications whatsoever.
We have to make sure that we have to make sure that we safeguard ourselves.
One of the main prosecutors of the 2611 Mumbai terror attacks was of the opinion that terror is not a bilateral issue between India and Pakistan, and India should internationalize Pakistan-sponsored terror, take it to the United Nations, expose Pakistan with diplomats from all over the world. Is that the only course? As Homeland also shows, Pakistan, the state and terrorists, they live with each other, and that's the only way to expose them. Lisa Curtis.
Well, yes, I certainly think this is an international issue, but it's not a new issue. The U.S. has been frustrated with Pakistan for many years, particularly because of its support to the Haqqani network and the Taliban fighting U.S. forces in Afghanistan. So this is not a new issue. And I would like to come back to something me and Ali said earlier. He said that Pakistan could not take on too many fronts at the same time, implying that it couldn't both fight the TTP and the LET at the same time. I simply don't buy that. And I don't think many people in the West buy that argument anymore.
Why is that? Why is it that Pakistan can't fight India-centric terror in Punjab, Pakistan's Punjab, and the Northwest Frontier Province simultaneously, Lisa Curtis?
I think the opposite is true. I think until Pakistan confronts all terrorist groups on equal footing, it's not going to be able to get a handle on the TTP threat. The problem is the ideology. These groups share the same ideology. They share training. They work together. And so Pakistan has it backwards. Until they approach the problem of terrorism on a comprehensive basis and take tough actions against all terrorists, they're not going to be able to combat the terrorism that is ripping the Pakistani state apart. And we have seen the Pakistani people stand up. They're tired of the government's dual policies towards terrorism.
Respond to this, Mayad Ali.
At the Red Mosque.
Yes, the Pakistan army needs to go after both terrorists simultaneously.
Well, first of all, let me say one thing. I am surprised at this lady's reaction to all this and her analysis of the situation, because she's from the US as far as I understand. I hope she understands what the US has done with Pakistan over the last 3 decades. It's their byproduct. It's their people. They have introduced
No. The US did not send Lashkar-e-Taiba to attack India. Let's be very clear. Don't fall for that rhetoric. You are an educated man. You know, if that comes from a madrasa, I can understand. That should not come from you. And I'm talking about India-centric terror.
One thing very clearly.
India-centric terror. No, the US did not tell Lashkar-e-Taiba to attack Mumbai.
US gave a blind eye to everything. Why didn't they speak earlier? Why didn't they speak earlier? They gave a blind eye because they had their own agenda. It's a rhetoric, I know that, but it's true as well. And now, as for the attack thing or making things worse, letting India attack Pakistani sites, I think it's not a good proposal. It's not the right time for political point scoring. I know that there's a problem in India, a political problem. BJP and some problems with each other, but it's not the way to handle the situation, to attack a country, a sovereign country.
No, but that's an internal... Listen. Will Pakistan attack? Will Pakistan go after Lashkar-e-Taiba? Will Pakistan go after Zaki, Rehman Lakhvi, Zarar Shah, Hafiz Saeed, Dawood Ibrahim?
Things have to be, you yourself are saying, everybody's saying that we've got a mess here in Pakistan. That mess has to be cleared in time. It needs some time, you see, and the government is sincere at the moment. The so-called establishment is also sincere.
Okay, Priyanka Chaturvedi has her hand up and as does Sanjay Hegde. Priyanka, you first.
No, I just like to ask Mr. Ali, it's so easy and at this point of time it sounds so silly that you still keep pointing a finger at India, America and all the other nations for the problems that you all face within your country. It is high time, if you're seeking time, it is also time that you'll cooperated with your neighbors as well in handling terror. When you talk about not opening another front, this is a front you all have opened for yourselves. And it's time you'll sort at closures. If y'all need support, you'll need to show that y'all are seriously fighting terrorism together.
That's a good point that Priyanka Chaturvedi makes. Aman, do we see...
Let me respond.
Quickly, 30 seconds,
Let me respond to this question, please.
Yes.
Let me respond to this question. That is
please tell me what are you asking.
You will have to give some time to this government to address the problem. We have a serious problem.
But for that you have to keep terrorists in jail. You have to keep those terrorists in jail.
I think this was the golden opportunity that
no, it's not a question of time, Gaurav. It's a question of their intent. And Pakistan stands exposed before the whole world today.
Aman.
Pakistan is using terror as instrument of state policy.
Yes.
And it has become the epicenter of world terror.
That it has been for some time. Aman,
when you make a distinction, even according to admitted statement of our Pakistani panelist, who says that we are holding one front and we are neglecting one front. It clearly shows that they are making a distinction.
No, that point is well taken, Aman. My restricted point, my limited point to the BJP is
the whole world,
while in opposition,
and they are using
Aman, you have to hear me for a moment.
Of state policy. They are protecting those, condoning actions of those terrorists who are attacking Indians.
All that is well known. What does the government intend to do about it diplomatically and politically?
This is the distinction.
What is government of India doing about it politically and diplomatically? Don't tell us what you're doing operationally. We don't want to know.
Diplomatically, the strongest possible action which the government of India can take, it has taken.
Like what?
And operationally, whatever action needs to be taken, that will be considered by the government. It cannot be disclosed in public debate.
Politically, have we seen any statement from the political leadership of this country? Have we seen any diplomatic effort being made? Just strong concern, serious concern? Is that the end of it?
The moment when Lakhvi got bail, Prime Minister condemned this on the floor of the House. The whole Parliament condemned it. What more do you want?
Leela Ponnappa, can you list out three steps India should take diplomatically to send a strong message to Pakistan that this is not a continuation of the previous government, and if there is a new government, it has new ideas, new plans. What should this government be doing?
I'm not getting into this government or the previous government. I'm talking about the positions that India should be taking.
Okay.
Well, I think the message has already gone across that if Pakistan continues to engage with terrorist groups and has the kinds of talks that it had with the Hurriyat and so on before the Foreign Secretary level talks, then India is will not go ahead. Pakistan has to decide on the kind of relationship that it wants with India. And the signals so far are that Pakistan continues to support the terrorist groups, the terrorist infrastructure within its own territory, that infiltration continues to take place, and that they continue to seek to destabilize the situation.
Yes.
Now, geography has put us together. We cannot wish them away. So we have to manage the relationship, keep communication lines open. That's the business of diplomacy.
Yes.
But at the same time, let us not be carried away by incidental, apparently positive steps like if tomorrow Pakistan were to appeal against the grant of bail or something,
absolutely,
go making high-level statements saying that this is a positive development. It is not.
It is not. You are spot on there. And Sanjay Hegde, as we see this case, as we see the Zaki Rehman Lakhvi case, we are very clear that Pakistan has a very weak case. They presented a very weak case, and the judiciary was left with no alternative but to set this man free on bail, because for 6 years there was only hearsay as evidence that was produced and no hard investigation done in Pakistan, where the terror plot took place, where the training took place, from where these terrorists were launched.
Absolutely, and it was because of that the man got bail in the first instance. Instead of Mr. Ali was saying give them time. I'd like to know that in the brief interregnum, has an appeal actually been filed? Has an appeal against the bail actually been pursued? Has it come up before a superior court? And what has happened, and did the prosecution present anything in the appellate court? No. What they did was they brought in a band-aid solution. They said, okay, let's detain him under our preventive detention laws. And in that meantime, while he got the preventive detention stayed, the state of Pakistan, its prosecution agencies seem to have done nothing. We can give you time, but give us action. That's not happening. That action from Pakistan is not happening. And Lisa Curtis, I was in that Chicago federal courtroom when David Coleman Headley was in that witness stand in the Tahawwur Hussain Rana trial, and he rattled off names of ISI officers. There are investigations done by the FBI that talk about whether it's a Colonel Sadatullah or a Major Hamza or a Major Ali. And the biggest tragedy is when we can't even go after a Zaki Rehman Lakhvi or a Hafiz Saeed, the state actors will go scot-free ultimately. Lisa Curtis.
Yeah, again, I come back to my original point that the Pakistan government can't complain about the way an American television show, Homeland, is depicting their country as sponsoring terrorism, and then turn around and get close to allowing one of the most major international terrorist masterminds, Zaki Rehman Lakhvi, out of jail on bail. This is unacceptable. It's shocking. The U.S. has been calling on Pakistan to speed up the trials of these 7 LET leaders that it's had in its custody almost 6 years now. But instead of speeding up the trials, what they are doing is considering bail for the terrorist mastermind. And I'll just remind people that it was a few years ago when there was information leaked that Zaki Rehman Lakhvi was able to make phone calls, cell phone calls from his jail cell.
Yes.
He was actually coordinating the activities of the LET from his jail cell. So one has to ask themselves, you know, what is happening here in Pakistan? And you know, it looks like a banana republic. It looks like Pakistan is unable to control the terrorist threat emanating from its country. And I would just say that, again, until Pakistan approaches terrorism holistically, comprehensively, and takes down all of the groups that are committing terrorism throughout the region, it's not going to be able to get control of this problem.
And Leela Ponappa, does that mean that India needs to take demonstrable steps, whether it's should that include scaling down diplomatic relations, withdrawing the most favored nation status that India has given to Pakistan, something that shows India is extremely unhappy and it cannot be business as usual if Pakistan doesn't address India-centric terror?
Well, I think India has already started demonstrating this, and I hope we continue to do so. As I said, let us not be diverted by the legal trivia. The larger issue, and Pakistan has demonstrated, as your Pakistani guest has said, Mr. Ali said, Pakistan is a sovereign state. Of course it is. It has sovereign entities, it has state entities that can take decisive action when they choose to. When the Chinese protest about something with regard to terrorist attacks on their people, Pakistan acts. Pakistan has also selectively cooperated with the United States. So, India has to recognize that it cannot have normal relations until Pakistan decides that it will meet it halfway. We should not get carried away. We should ensure that our security preparations are comprehensive and that our responses also befit the kind of threats and activity, the aggressive activity that Pakistan indulges in, and also certainly continue to sensitize the international community. Please note that it is because of India's efforts to internationalize the threat of terrorism that finally the world woke up to it, and it required.
You're spot on there. Priyanka Chaturvedi, the last word to you. Is the Congress with the BJP or is the Congress with the government when it comes to this terrorism? Will we see a bipartisan approach to Pakistan-sponsored terror?
No, we are with the nation, and whatever is pro-nation, which keeps our nation secure, our borders secure, our people secure, we are totally for that. But for that, the government in power right now needs to decide what is its approach going to be as far as Pakistan is concerned. All we've been seeing are massive flip-flops. We call the Prime Minister to India, then we call a Foreign Secretary level talks. So we need to have a comprehensive approach as far as Pakistan is concerned, and we need to give them a message, and a very stern message, that we will not entertain any kind of talks if they are not serious about curbing terrorism coming from across the border.
Okay, and Aman, can we have an assurance that the government will remain strong on Pakistan-sponsored terror?
Gaurav, you have seen that this present government has taken strongest possible actions against such acts of terror by Pakistan and condoning such acts of terror. And let me say to my Congress friend, perhaps she is not aware that on questions of national security, a stern message will go only if parties are together. I do not wish to comment any further on that. But let me say this is a clear case where the Pakistan prosecution deliberately, with their acts of omission, allowed a bail to be given to Lakhvi. Thereafter, they did not deliberately and intently appeal against passing of this bail order. and he on the other hand has gone ahead and has got the detention order set aside, and we have not seen any action on this front at all. The actions of the Pakistani government clearly reflect their duplicity, their hypocrisy.
Absolutely, no, that is given. What we expect India, from this government, that is a given.
Soft, they condone it, and when it comes to their, attacks when they are on their own establishment, they are taking some action. But as far as India is concerned, they are absolutely condoning it and encouraging such acts.
Okay, and news just coming in. Even as we speak, there is news coming in from Islamabad that Pakistan has decided not to release Zaki Rehman Lakhvi tomorrow. Zaki Rehman Lakhvi, his detention order was set aside by the High Court in Islamabad. But now the government is saying, government of Pakistan is telling headlines today in Islamabad that Pakistan will not release Zaki Rehman Lakhvi tomorrow. We'll get you more on this story. Hamza Amir in Islamabad is getting more details on that story. But as Leela Ponappa was saying, we should not get trapped by the trivia of that judicial process that's going on in Pakistan. This perhaps is just diversionary tactics. Pakistan continues to send in terrorists into India, and that is something that India needs to address. Lisa Curtis, Aman Sinha, Priyanka Chaturvedi, Sanjay Hegde, Leela Ponappa and Mayad Ali. For the moment, many thanks for joining me on the show tonight. We will continue to track this story very closely.